Tonight, we begin with a development that transportation officials, safety experts, and senior advocacy groups had anticipated, debated, and prepared for. A sweeping policy change that unfolded not over decades, but in just 18 months. 18 months that will reshape how millions of Americans maintain their driving independence. 18 months that will introduce new testing requirements across dozens of states. 18 months that will affect every licensed driver over the age of 62. What federal and state transportation authorities announced this year crossed a threshold that lawmakers had avoided for generations. And when that threshold was finally crossed, senior advocacy organizations did not hesitate. They responded with urgency, clarity, and action. Because starting February 2026, the rules of the road are changing. And if you are 62 or older, or if you have a parent, grandparent, or loved one in that age group, what comes next could determine whether they keep their keys or lose them. For several years now, there had been signals, not official legislation, not formal mandates, just signals, that the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration was preparing something unprecedented. The NHTSA has been cautious, yes, but they have been deliberate in their caution. Their policy recommendations have followed a certain rhythm, a predictability, almost a pattern. But what set off alarm bells in Washington and state capitals this past year was that the pattern went silent. Transportation analysts who monitor federal rulemaking know the indicators: the quiet meetings with state DMV directors, the commission studies on age-related driving safety, the pilot programs in select states, the sudden increase in public comment periods. All of that went quiet. And whenever federal agencies go quiet on a major issue, it means something significant is about to be announced. For decades, driving rules for seniors varied wildly from state to state. Some states required no additional testing. Others required vision exams. A handful required road tests after certain ages. But there was no national standard, no unified approach. That inconsistency frustrated safety advocates who pointed to accident statistics. It frustrated senior rights groups who saw arbitrary restrictions. And it frustrated families caught in the middle, unsure what rules applied to their loved ones. The silence from Washington suggested that was about to change. And in February 2026, it will. Early this year, the Department of Transportation released what they described as comprehensive guidelines for age-related driver assessment, including federal recommendations that had not been updated in over 30 years. These are the kinds of policy frameworks that state DMVs only adopt when they are signaling something very specific: enhanced safety protocols, standardized testing requirements, or mandatory compliance timelines. Transportation analysts didn't know which category this fell into, or whether it fell into all three at once. But what they did know was that the federal government was changing its posture on senior driving requirements. And when federal agencies shift posture without extensive public debate, even by small measures, state governments pay attention. Here's what the new guidelines include. First, enhanced vision testing. Beginning February 2026, drivers age 62 and older will face more rigorous vision assessments during license renewal. This goes beyond the standard eye chart. New protocols include peripheral vision testing, contrast sensitivity evaluation, and night vision assessment in participating states. Second, shortened renewal cycles. Many states currently allow license renewals every 8 years. Under the new guidelines, drivers 65 and older will need to renew every 4 years. Drivers 75 and older will need to renew every 2 years. Third, medical certification requirements. Drivers with certain diagnosed conditions, including early-stage cognitive decline, diabetes requiring insulin, and specific cardiovascular conditions, will need physician certification to maintain their licenses. These changes are significant, they are consequential, and they are coming faster than most Americans realize. The response issued by senior advocacy organizations this month was not routine. It was not symbolic. It was not performative. It was urgent. Representatives from AARP, the American Automobile Association, and the National Council on Aging described the new guidelines as overdue but imperfect, well-intentioned but potentially discriminatory, and perhaps most importantly, Rushed and implementation advocacy groups have long acknowledged that age-related changes can affect driving ability. Slower reaction times, reduced peripheral vision, difficulty with night driving. But rushing implementation only works if drivers have time to prepare. Many seniors do not. In fact, the response from senior communities today was among the most vocal we have seen in transportation policy debates. Here is what we know. Within weeks of the announcement, AARP launched a national awareness campaign reaching over 12 million members. These were not routine newsletters. These were urgent action alerts, communications that AARP only deploys when they believe members face immediate consequential changes to their daily lives. The message was clear: know the new rules before they take effect. Tonight, transportation officials confirmed that the new federal guidelines affect license renewals across 43 states, including every state that had previously adopted federal safety recommendations. Here is the complete breakdown of what changes in February 2026. Vision testing changes. Current rules in most states require only a basic visual acuity test, reading letters on a chart from a fixed distance. The new protocols expand this significantly. Drivers 62 and older will now face standard visual acuity testing with stricter passing thresholds, peripheral vision assessment to ensure adequate sight awareness, contrast sensitivity testing to evaluate ability to distinguish objects in varying light conditions. Drivers who fail any component will not automatically lose their licenses. Instead, they will receive referrals to eye care specialists and opportunities for retesting within 90 days. Renewal cycle changes. Current renewal cycles vary from 4 years to 8 years depending on state. The new guidelines standardize this based on age. Ages 62 to 64, every 6 years. Ages 65 to 74, every 4 years. Ages 75 to 84, every 2 years. Ages 85 and older, annual renewal required in-person renewals will be required for drivers 70 and older. Online renewal options will no longer be available for this age group. Medical certification requirements. This is the component generating the most concern among seniors and advocacy groups. Drivers with diagnosed conditions affecting driving ability will need to submit physician certification forms. Conditions triggering this requirement include diagnosed dementia or mild cognitive impairment, epilepsy or seizure disorders, insulin-dependent diabetes, cardiovascular conditions affecting consciousness, certain vision disorders including macular degeneration. Physicians will complete standardized forms indicating whether patients can safely operate vehicles. Failure to submit required forms will result in license suspension until documentation is provided. This is what made the advocacy group's response so urgent. The new requirements are not just symbolic, they are actionable. They represent the kind of policy change that could remove millions of seniors from the road if left unaddressed. And seniors, understanding that fully, are now responding with preparation. Not panic, not resignation, but strategic preparation. They are scheduling eye exams early, they are gathering medical documentation, they are learning the specific requirements in their states. And here is where the story becomes even more significant. Transportation safety researchers now believe that the federal government's latest guidelines were designed to test the feasibility of national standardization after decades of state-by-state fragmentation. Federal officials wanted to see whether states would adopt uniform standards voluntarily. And surprisingly, the opposite of resistance happened. States did not reject the guidelines. They embraced them with coordination that was so swift, so comprehensive, that even federal officials noticed. You do not get 43 states to align on transportation policy easily. But this year, the Department of Transportation did. Policy analysts speaking with transportation media under anonymity described the rapid adoption as unprecedented, a signal that states recognize the liability exposure of inconsistent senior driving rules. But seniors proved this month that they remain both informed and organized. Their advocacy responses were not only immediate, they were coordinated so precisely that congressional offices reported significant constituent contact within days of the announcement. That coordination matters because it shows seniors understand what is at stake. It shows that affected drivers are not passive recipients of new rules. They are active participants in shaping implementation. As details continued emerging throughout this month, we learned more about the scale of the new requirements. The Department of Transportation estimates that 27 million drivers aged 62 and older will face new testing requirements in 2026. State DMVs are preparing for a 40% increase in senior license processing volume. Eye care providers are reporting surge scheduling as seniors seek pre-renewal vision assessments. This is not just a policy adjustment. This is not just a paperwork change. This is a fundamental restructuring of how America evaluates senior driving competency. This is a generational shift in transportation policy, and generational shifts are the one thing that catches seniors off guard if they are not prepared. For every concern about safety statistics, seniors have countered with something that complicates the narrative. Experienced drivers with decades of safe driving records who now face bureaucratic hurdles. Remember, lawmakers thought universal senior driving restrictions were politically impossible. They thought state DMVs would resist federal standardization. They thought seniors would reject any additional requirements. But today, the exact opposite is happening. Federal guidelines are being adopted across most states. DMVs are implementing new protocols faster than anticipated, and many seniors are proactively preparing rather than resisting. The change is happening. The question now is whether seniors will be ready when February arrives. What makes this moment so consequential and so time-sensitive is that the new rules take effect at a time when millions of seniors depend on driving for basic independence. Rural seniors need vehicles to reach medical appointments. Suburban seniors need vehicles for grocery shopping and social connection. Urban seniors in areas with limited public transit need vehicles for daily functioning. Family members want to keep loved ones safe. Seniors want to maintain their independence. Safety advocates want to reduce accident statistics. And transportation officials want to balance all three concerns. Seniors are balancing these realities while facing new bureaucratic requirements. And when people in that position face sudden deadlines, they need information, not confusion. They need preparation, not panic. The Department of Transportation's announcement, now distributed to all state DMV offices, was designed to signal that federal officials are not willing to tolerate continued inconsistency in senior driver evaluation. Officials said plainly that current state-by-state variation was inconsistent with national safety objectives. That is bureaucratic language for, the old system was not working, and we are fixing it whether states like it or not. You do not usually hear that tone from federal transportation officials unless something significant is at stake. And what is at stake here is the safety record of an aging driving population combined with the independence that driving provides. Meanwhile, AARP's leadership addressed members in a detailed, practical communication this month. They said, "These changes are coming whether we support every detail or not. Our job now is to help members prepare." They said, "Schedule your vision exam before December 2025. Do not wait until the last minute." And they said, "Know your state's specific requirements. Federal guidelines are recommendations. State implementation varies." These are not rhetorical suggestions. These are actionable steps from an organization that understands just how consequential February 2026 will be for its members. Here is what makes the situation even more complex. The federal guidelines are not mandates, they are recommendations. Along with the core testing requirements, 12 states have added cognitive screening components. 8 states have implemented senior driver education requirements. 5 states have created graduated restriction options for drivers who fail certain tests. All of this varies by state. When federal guidelines allow state flexibility, it means seniors must understand their specific state's implementation. Drivers in California face different requirements than drivers in Texas. Drivers in Florida face different timelines than drivers in New York. This is not uniform. This is complex. And complexity is the one thing that causes seniors to miss deadlines or fail to prepare adequately. Transportation advisors are now recommending several preparation strategies. One is that seniors schedule vision and medical evaluations now before the February rush. Another is that seniors review their state DMV website for specific implementation details. A third option, the one advocacy groups emphasize most, is that seniors consider voluntary driver refresher courses that can demonstrate competency and, in some states, reduce insurance premiums. But most importantly, seniors should take control of the process now. They should not wait for DMV notices. They should not assume their current licenses remain valid. They should not rely on extensions that may not be available. They should prepare now. What we are watching now is a test of preparation. Federal officials want to see standardized senior driver evaluation. State DMVs want to see efficient processing of millions of renewals. Seniors want to maintain their driving independence, and families want to ensure their loved ones remain safe, both on the road and in their daily lives. All four objectives can align, but only if seniors prepare before February 2026. Tonight, we have compiled the key resources that seniors should access immediately. AARP offers free driver safety courses online and in person that satisfy refresher requirements in participating states. AAA provides senior driver evaluation programs that identify areas for improvement before official DMV testing. State DMV websites now include dedicated senior driver information pages with state-specific requirement details. And the National Council on Aging offers transportation assistance program directories for seniors who may need alternatives to personal driving. Their resources today, comprehensive, accessible, and free, send a message to seniors that help is available. And they send a message to families that support systems exist. As the weeks continue toward February, we expect more details to emerge about exactly how states will implement these new requirements. But what we do know is that early preparation is essential. It provides time to address vision problems before renewal deadlines. It provides time to gather required medical documentation. It provides time to explore alternatives if driving is no longer safe. What happens next will depend on what seniors do in the next 3 months. If they prepare early, this transition will be remembered as manageable. If they wait until February, transportation officials have already indicated that extensions will be limited and processing delays will be significant. Seniors have shown repeatedly that they are capable of adapting to change. They have shown they are ready to meet new requirements. They have shown they value both safety and independence. And tonight, for the first time in decades, senior driving policy is unified. State DMVs are preparing, advocacy groups are mobilizing, and seniors across America are facing a clear choice: prepare now or struggle later. Learn the new rules or be surprised by them. Take control of the process or let the process control you. This story is far from over, but tonight one thing is clear: February 2026 is coming. The new rules will take effect, and seniors who prepare now will keep their keys. And we will be here providing every update as the implementation unfolds.